Hi, everybody, and welcome to my latest episode of Mrs. Mummypenny Talks. Nearly got my words wrong there on the title of the podcast. It's episode 6, and yes, another guest. Today it's Nicola Richardson, and we are going to be talking about family money saving. So, great new series of the podcast, which is basically focusing on chapters of my book. So we've reached sort of midway through the now section rather than the future section, and thought Nicola would be a perfect person to come on the podcast and talk about family money saving, because the great thing about you is you've got a different perspective to me on family because your children are a little bit younger. But tell us a little bit about your blog and what sort of things you write about, because I know you write about family stuff, but it's not just family stuff that you focus on.
Yeah, hi. So I blog over at the Frugal Cottage, but I talk a lot about kind of early retirement, financial independence, investing, building, that kind of side of thing, alongside being fairly careful with my money and, from a family perspective, obviously, our children are very different in ages, so mine are fairly little in comparison, but trying to make things fun along the journey of what is going to be quite a long journey for us of retirement early.
Yeah. So what's really interesting about Nicola, and I've tried to, whenever I'm writing about FIRE, which is financial independence, retire early, I don't like the retire early bit. I'm more into the financial independence. But whenever I write about it, I try to use you as like case studies and quote you, because you talk about financial independence in a very relatable way, and you're not sort of condescending in any way, because I find some of the financial independence people, they're like, I want to be retired by the time I'm 35 and I'm going to have this amazing job that pays me like 80, 100 grand a year. I'm not going to have any children and I'm going to save all this money. And that's how I'm going to save my £1 million. And it just, that's what I've always struggled with financial independence, that it's all these sort of bullshit men. And you're more real, like you actually have, you don't have a huge job paying you 100 grand a year, you're a part-time teacher, but yet you are still aspiring towards financial independence. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think so. I totally agree with you in the sense that if you kind of Google the typical FIRE movement or person, they're kind of mainly American for a start, but also like earn ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah.
And also need like a savings pot of like, oh, our target is like $5 million. Well, let me tell you, there's just no chance, is there? That, like you say, I work part-time in education, and I hope kind of showing our journey shows that actually you can be a really kind of really average, normal family, just trying to do things a bit differently, but also you don't have to, because those kind of numbers would that not put you off in any stage of that journey, saying, well, I'm never going to reach, I don't earn that much money, I'm never going to invest or save or whatever that much money, I might as well not try. We're trying to show that actually it almost doesn't matter so long as you're willing to give it a go from whatever starting point you've got.
Yeah.
And hey, if it goes wrong, then at least we've given it a good go in the process.
Yeah. So I've done a couple of articles over the past couple of months in collaboration with Pension Bee, which is all been about how much is enough. And I used you as I spoke to people in different decades of life. And so someone in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and you were my 30s decade person. So it was fascinating, wasn't that? Article was so interesting, like looking at everybody's different perspectives as to how much they think is enough. So I've done my calculations, and I am absolutely aiming for financial independence, partly inspired by you and your relatable story, because I know we've talked about it before and I've been like, I don't believe in what you do, but I have come around to it because you are educating people in a simple way. But I think I'm aiming for about a 300 grand pot. But like other people were aiming for like a 1.5 million pound pot, and I think your pot was maybe similar-ish to mine.
It is
right. I think that was right, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But you'll probably get to yours before me.
Maybe.
And you're doing it in a different way as well.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, but yeah, so like 1.5 million pound pot is not it's just not attainable for our household income. You know, unless something like weird happens in the next 10 years, it's not going to be. I'm not going to get that ever.
Mm.
So you know, but it is when you read articles like that and people kind of put their number on it, and you think there's such a vast array of kind of lifestyles that people want to live once they've reached it as well. So obviously you've got to take that into account. Our lifestyle is fairly simple in its nature. So, you know, I'm not going to suddenly starting off going on luxury cruises, because that's not me anyway. Never mind. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to think about what you're aiming for in terms of lifestyle, as well as the journey that gets you to that point.
Yeah. So on that note then, of the current lifestyle we lead as parents, so I suppose set the scene. So you've got 2 boys who are 5 and 3.
He's 6 and 3 now.
6 and 3.
Yeah.
And I have 3 boys half the time who are, because they've just had their birthdays, 14, 12 and 9.
Okay.
So yeah, a little bit older, but so yeah, I've been there for those difficult younger years, because they are difficult, right? And there's different costs that hit you at different life stages. So I suppose if we start from the beginning and start with when you have this new baby, so what are your top tips, ways to save money when like this new baby comes along and you're like, oh my God, I've got to get all this stuff and I don't know what to do?
Yeah, and I feel like advertising, when they're aiming it, especially like at first time mums, because you generally have no idea what you're doing, do you? They kind of feel, or it makes you feel like you need every single ridiculously priced item known to man, things that you've never ever heard of until you get.
Yeah.
And like so many of it just isn't necessary. And even the things that are necessary. So for example, our nursery furniture that we got for our first, we got it all like as a bundle off eBay, and I think it cost us £40 for a cot, a chest of drawers, a changing table, and it looked like brand new. You wouldn't even know it had been used, because it just been sat in like somebody's grandparents' house, so they had their children like overnight occasionally, and that was it.
Wow.
And you know, you can spend £1,000 on easily, can't you, on like nursery furniture? But let's be honest. So my child rarely slept anyway, and he doesn't care if he's in like a brand new designer cot or do you know what I mean? Like it just isn't.
Well, a kid isn't going to care.
No, and they're not even aware. They don't even know, do they? But you're made to feel like, oh, you need the best. It needs to be matching, you know, because especially things like social media, like Instagram, where parents post like picture perfect nurseries, bedrooms, whatever. Your child doesn't care about that. And it's more of sometimes I feel like it's more of a kind of status, or I've got X, Y, and Z in my nursery, but, you know, and it's a bit of a, do you know what I mean? Like a bit of a, I can't think of the word, which is helpful on a podcast.
It's keeping up with the Joneses, right? It's comparison syndrome. Yeah.
So don't be shy in terms of looking for, because like I said, the one we got was, it was second hand, but it was really not used very much. You wouldn't know. There was not anything wrong with it in the slightest.
Yeah. So there's so many ways where you can get this like incredible quality secondhand stuff. So your local Facebook groups, eBay, Gumtree. I used to get so much stuff from my local NCT sales. They're all over the country, aren't they?
They're fab as well. Yeah,
they're really. I remember I got a travel cot for like £5.
Yeah,
amazing.
I think we got a jumperoo for one of those.
And I used that travel cot. I used the travel cot as the I didn't have a Moses basket by the side of my bed. I just used the travel cot because my babies were quite big when they were born. So you know, I don't think you should get Moses baskets because they literally last for 6 weeks.
Yeah, they don't last very long, do they?
No, and a travel cot is massive. Just get a new mattress. I do think you should get a new mattress. I will say that. But you can get a new mattress from Argos. Like you don't need to have that £100 mattress from John Lewis.
Yeah.
Sorry, John Lewis, but what upsets me about what John Lewis does to new mums is because they did it to me. I didn't have a clue with my first child, and they just gave me a list of everything I needed.
Yeah.
And I bought it. So I know that I spent like maybe 2 or 3 grand on my eldest when he was born like 14 years ago. And
yeah, because they're playing on the fact that you don't know.
Yeah.
So, these experts, and we'll put it like that, these experts say, oh, you need all of this stuff. Well, yeah, of course, from a business perspective, yeah, they want you to buy all of that. Of course they do.
Yeah.
It's not fair, I don't think.
No, it's not. So yeah, sorry, John Lewis, but I don't agree with that marketing thing you do. So babies turn into toddlers, and they start to talk and need clothes. Well, they need bigger clothes all the bloody time. They're so secondhand clothes. Oh, absolutely. I have lived off hand-me-downs from friends.
Yeah, we do that all the time. We're lucky enough. So I have like people quite close by whose children are slightly older than mine. So I'm like, yeah, just because again, it doesn't like as long as I can get away with that. But as long as my children don't kind of put up a fight or anything like that, I'm all for that. I get that when they're teenagers, yeah, they're probably not going to want to be, or they're not going to be such a big fan of that, and you probably might know that. But at the moment, they really couldn't. They just like to be in charge of picking their own clothes out the drawers. They don't care. They don't really care what they are. I feel like teenagers might not be so appreciative of hand-me-downs.
Well, no, not necessarily, because
really?
So I've got, like you, one of my friends has got I think her son is 16, so a couple of years older, and she just sort of drives past my house every 3 months, just leaves a carrier bag on my front doorstep, and he likes sort of branded stuff, so it's like Next and Nike and all those kind of brands. So my eldest will just go through it, and he won't like all of it, but he might take like a jumper and a couple of t-shirts. But he's because like I'm sure like you will do with your children, like I've always done with mine. My children are so financially aware, and about they try to save money like as well as I do. Like my 14-year-old, if he wants a pair of trainers, he will find a pair of trainers in the sale, and he'll be like, Mummy, I've just found a pair of trainers that are like £40 rather than 80, and he's always like really pleased with himself. So he's fine with secondhand clothes because he knows that it saves money. So it's how you educate them, I think.
I mean, that's awesome. I'm hoping that mine, when we get there, will be also okay with that idea. I guess it depends what I'm trying to get them to wear.
Not all of them do it.
No.
So my youngest had a bit of an obsession with Hype, the brand Hype.
Yeah.
And it's quite expensive.
Yeah.
But he's gone off it now. So he had that obsession during lockdown. And now I've got this bundle of Hype stuff that is too small for him. So I'm just going to do a Hype bundle and stick it on eBay because it's branded. So it will sell really well.
Good idea.
Yeah. Yes. So that on that note, then once you're done with stuff, there's several things you can do with the stuff. Once you're done with it, you can sell it on eBay and local Facebook groups, so other people benefit from it, or give it to charity, but like pass it down the line.
We are, I don't know how to phrase this, so we've got like a women's refuge where I live, who quite frequently ask for donations of various ages of children's clothes. So I always try and kind of keep a look on what they're looking or asking for. Definitely don't just unless they're like full of holes, or they put the knees through for like the millionth time. Definitely see where you could hand them so that someone else gets to use them. And there'll be lots of people who who really are in need of fairly basic things, but
absolutely. No, that's a really good shout about women's refuge. Food banks often need like the like baby wipes and yeah, Johnson's and Johnson's, those kind of bubble baths, nappies, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, absolutely, pass it on. Sorry, so let's talk about childcare, because that then becomes such an issue for me.
I was going to say, so yours is probably going to be more expensive than mine, I get the feeling.
Yeah, so at one point, so my children are, so we've got I've got a 2-year gap, then a 3-year gap. So at one point I had one child in, say, year 1 of school, I had one child in nursery, preschool, and then I had one baby, and I was back at work full time. And my ex-husband didn't do anything to help. So I had, at one point, £1,200 a month was my childcare bill.
I mean, and like at some point you've got to question whether it's worth going back to work to essentially then just send it all somewhere else.
Well, I was very fortunate that at that time I was at EE, so I was earning really good money.
Right.
But still, I've said before how much I was earning, about 80 grand a year, but still, like 30% of my take home, 25% of my take home was going to childcare, and then another 25% was going to my mortgage.
Yeah, and then so straight away you're looking at kind of, I think childcare is such a tricky issue because childcare shouldn't be free. You've chosen to have a child, I get that, but childcare is so like, it's so expensive, but you don't have an option. They have to go somewhere, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's childcare is such a, so I've got one who's in nursery and then one who's in primary school. He has to go to a childminder. I chose to go back to work part-time because if I chose to go back to work full-time and then had to do both and that, I literally it would almost be not worth it.
Yeah, it's I think so